All dare to commit great wrong and were fit for what they dare. If I had 100 tongues, if I had 100 mouths and an iron voice, I could neither spell out the full catalogue of those crimes, nor name their punishments. Here Apollo's venerable priestess paused before continuing. But enough, be quick, you must conclude your undertaking now. We both must hurry. I see ramparts fashioned in cyclopic foundries and gates there in the arch in front of us, where the powers that be require us to deposit Proserpine's gift. That said, they proceed in step along the park, dark of pathways, then hurry out across the open ground that fronts the doors. Aeneas takes his stand in the entrance and purifies his body with fresh water, and there and then plants the bough in the threshold. With this ritual finally performed and honored unto the goddess, they came into happy vistas and the green welcome of the groves of the fortunate ones who dwell in joy. Here, a more spacious air sheds brightness over the land. They enjoy their own sun here and their own stars, some at their exercises on the grass, some competing in earnest, wrestling on yellow sand, others are dancing dances and singing songs. Orpheus among them in his long musician's robe, keeping time, plucking his 7 notes from the 7-stringed lyre, now with his fingers, now with an ivory plectrum. Here too were members of Teucer's ancient stock, that noblest of families, magnificent heroes born in better days, Ilus and Assaracus and Dardanus, who founded Troy. Aeneas gazed in wonder at their armor, and the chariots beside them standing idle, their spears struck tall in the ground, and their horses loosed out free to graze the plain anywhere they liked. The pride they took when alive in armor and chariots, the care they gave to their glossy, well-groomed teams, it is still the same. Now they've gone away under the earth. Others too, he sees on every side, feasting in lush meadows or singing songs together to Apollo, deep in a laurel grove where the Eridanus courses through on its way to the earth above. Here was a band of those who suffered wounds, fighting for their country, those who lived the pure life of the priest, those who were dedicated poets and made songs fit for Apollo, others still whose discoveries improved our arts or ease, and those remembered for a life spent serving others, all of them with headbands white as snow tied round their brows. These the Sibyl now addressed as they bustled close around her, Musaeus in particular, who stood out at the centre of the crowd. The one looked up to, towering head and shoulders over them. Tell us, happy spirits, she began, and you, the best of the poets, tell us, where does Anchises lodge? In what quarter? For his sake we have crossed the mighty waterways to be here. Her question the great hero answered briefly. None of us has one definite home place. We haunt the shadowy woods, bed down on riverbanks, on meadowland in earshot of running streams. But you, if your heart is set upon it, climb this ridge and I'll direct you soon on an easy path. He spoke, walked on ahead, and showed the fields of light. Aeneas and the Sibyl came down the hill. Elsewhere, Anchises, fatherly and intent, was often a deep green valley, surveying and reviewing souls consigned there, those due to pass to the light of the upper world. It so happened, he was just then taking note of his whole posterity, the destinies and doings, traits and qualities of descendants dear to him. But seeing Aeneas come wading through the grass towards him, he reached his 2 hands out in eager joy. His eyes filled up with tears, and he gave a cry, "At last! Are you here at last? I always trusted light would prevail and keep you going to the end. And am I now allowed to see your face, my son, and hear you talk, and talk to you myself? This is what I imagined and looked forward to as I counted the days, and my trust was not misplaced. To think of the lands and the outlying seas you have crossed, my son, to receive this welcome, and after such dangers. I was afraid that Africa might be on your undoing. But Aeneas replied, often and often, father, you would appear to me. Your sad shade would appear, and that kept me going to this end. My ships are anchored in the Tuscan sea. Let me take your hand, my father, oh, let me, and do not hold back from my embrace. And as he spoke, he wept. 3 times he tried to reach arms round that neck. 3 times the form reached for it in vain, escaped like a breeze between his hands, a dream on wings. Meanwhile, at the far end of the valley, Aeneas saw a remote grove, bushy rustling thickets, and the river Lethe somnolently flowing, lapping, those peaceful haunts along its banks. Here, a hovering multitude, innumerable nations and gathered clans kept the fields humming with life, like bees in meadows on a clear summer day, alighting on pied flowers and wafting in mazy swarms around white lilies. Aeneas, startled at this unexpected sight, and in his bewilderment asked what was happening. What was the river drifting past beyond them? Who were the ones in such a populous throng beside it? Spirits, Anchises answered. They are spirits destined to live a second life in the body. They assemble here to drink from the brimming Lethe, and its water heals their anxieties and obliterates all trace of memory. For a long time now I have looked forward to telling you about them, letting you see them face to face, but most of all, I wished to call the roll of my descendants, parade my children's children, so you could all the more share my joy at your landfall in Italia. Are we to believe then, Father, there are souls who rise from here to the sky of the upper world, and we enter the sluggish drag of the body? What possesses a poor soul? Why this mad desire to get back to the light? To put you out of doubt, Anchises answers, I shall explain it right away. And point by point, he then outlines the doctrine. To begin at the beginning, a nurturing inner spirit works to sustain sky, earth, the fields of ocean, the moon's bright disk, and Titan's star, the sun. And mind, operative in every part, imbues the massive whole, blending with world's body, from which are born races of men and beasts, creatures that fly, and prodigies ocean breeds beneath the molten marble of its surface. The seeds of life are strong sparks out of fire. their origin divine. So to that extent, they are immune to the heavy toll of the body, their quickness unaffected by the toil of human limbs and the mortal clothing of the flesh. It is from body that fear and desire, grief and delight derive. And in the darkness of its prison house, those first pure elements are shut off and screened from the light of heaven. Besides which, at the end, when life departs, they remain sadly infested by every evil and every bodily ill, for inevitably, in the course of time, many flaws mysteriously coalesce, hard set and deep ingrained. Therefore, souls are visited with due chastisements and affliction to atone for past offences. Some are hung, racked and raped and racked by vacuous winds. For others, the stain is washed away beneath whirling torrents or burnt off in fire. Each of us suffers the death we're due, then given the freedom of broad Elysium. The few, that is, will dwell in those blessed fields until the end of time, when length of days will remove the deep-dyed taint, purify the ethereal sense, and that sheer original stuff of fire and spirit. The rest, when they have trod time's mill for 1,000 years, the God commands wave upon wave into the Lethe river. So at that stage their memory is effaced, and they go once more to dwell beneath skies domed and start again to long for the old life of flesh and blood. Anchises concluded and led his son, accompanied by the Sibyl, into the crowd, into the thick and buzzing throb of it. Then took his stand on a height where he could inspect the long drawn-out procession and take note of every face as it approached and passed. Now I will instruct you in what is to be the future glory of the Trojan race. Descendants due to be born in Italia, souls who in time will make our name illustrious. I speak of them to reveal your destiny to you. The lad you see there, who leans on his untipped spear, placed next and nearest to the light, he will be the first to ascend to upper air, the first of our people with mixed Italian blood. He'll be known as Silvius, an Alban name, and be the last of your children when you are old. Your wife Lavinia will rear him in the woods. To be a king, the father kings our stock will issue from and rule in Alba Longa. Next to him stands Procas, pride and joy of the Trojan nation, then Capys and Numitor, and the one in whose name you will survive, Silvius Aeneas, no less distinguished as a warrior than you, no less devoted, though he'll be waiting long to rule in Alba. Look at them, marvelous, strong young men, wearing their civic honors, oak wreaths like shadowy crowns. These, when you are gone, will build Momentum and Gabii and the city of Fidena, fortify hill towns, wall the citadels of Colossia, found Pompeii, Bola and Cora, and Camp Inuus. Unheard of today, unsignified, their name and fame will come. And Romulus, yes, son of Mars, grandson of Numitor, whom Ilia is to bear, Romulus will stand firm by his grandfather. Do you see how the twin plumes wave above his head? How the father of the gods has marked him out with his own insignia for singular majesty. Once he inaugurates the power of Rome, she in her glory will push an empire's bounds to the ends of the earth and harbor aspirations high as heaven. 7 hills she will girdle with a wall into a single city and be blessed with heroic sons. She will be like Cybele with her crown of towers, the great mother borne in her chariot through the cities of Phrygia, happy and fulfilled to have given birth to God's grandchildren by the score in her generous arms. All of them sky dwellers, tenants of the heights. Now look this way, take good note of this clan, your own bloodline in Rome. There is Caesar and the whole offspring of Ulysses. destined one day to issue forth beneath the dome of heaven. This is he whose coming you've heard foretold so often, Augustus Caesar, child of the Divine One, who will establish in Latium, in Saturn's old domain, a second golden age. He will advance his empire beyond the Garments and the Indians to lands unseen beneath our constellations, beyond the sun's path through the zodiac, away where sky-braced Atlas pivots on his shoulder, the firmament inlaid with glittering stars. Already the Caspian kingdoms and Laotia know of his coming and begin to tremble at the oracles of their gods. The waters of the Nile quail in alarm and roil through their 7 mouths. Not even Hercules pursued his labours over so much of earth's surface. Not when he stalked and shot the bronze-toed deer, silenced the boar in the woods of Erymanthus, and left the air of Lerna vibrating to his bowstring. Not Bacchus either, careering in triumph, the vine reins in his grip, driving his tiger team down the heights of Nysa. So why would we then hesitate to test and prove our worth in action, or be afraid to stake and stand our ground in Italia? But that one in the crown of olive sprays, offering sacrifice, that grey head and grizzled beard I recognize as Numas, king of Rome, sprung from the humble town of Cures, called from its poor land to wield high power and frame the city's first system of laws, to be succeeded next by Tullus, who will wreck his country's peace, turn an easygoing people militant, and drill an army long out of the field for victory. After him, that's Ancus, swaggering, too full of himself already, overly susceptible to the wind of popularity in his sails. And there, if you care to look, are the regal Tarquins and haughty Brutus, called Avenger, who'll arrange the handover of the fasces. First consul to be installed and given authority as custodian of the pitiless axis. Then, as a father, when his sons foment their plot, he will decree their summary execution in the fair name of liberty. Stricken in this, no matter how future generations may comprehend it, love of country will prevail and the overwhelming desire for fame. Now over there you see the Decii and the Drusi, Torquatus who will behead his son, and Camillus who will recapture the standards. But alas for that pair in their burnished armour, well-matched champions, twin souls in accord, as long as they stay pent in this shadowland. But once promoted to the light above, what mutual destruction they will wreak, the internecine savagery and slaughter of a civil war. Caesar, the bride's father, bearing down from the northern Alps. Pompey, the husband, with his legions in formation advancing from the east. Do not, O my sons, inure yourselves to such dreadful consequence. Do not bloody the bosom of your country with vicious, valiant battle. And you, child of my blood, of the gods on high Olympus, be you the first in clemency. Rid your hands of those weapons. Yonder too is Mummius, conqueror of Corinth, who will ride his victor's chariot up to the capital, a hero for having brought ruination on the Greeks. That other at his side will destroy Argos and Agamemnon's Mycenae, defeat descendants of arch-warrior Achilles, avenge his Trojan forebears and the rape of Cassandra in Minerva's temple. Next, great Cato, you who could not sing your praise, or Cossus, you, or the family of the Gracchi, or those two Scipios, 2 warrior thunderbolts who will strike down bellicose Carthage, or Fabricius, the indomitable and frugal, or you, Serranus, sowing your furrowed field. Nor is there a quick or easy way to scan the long line of the Fabii, down to the greatest, Fabius Maximus, he who will contrive to stall and therefore save our state. Others, I have no doubt, with a more delicate touch, will beat bronze into breathing likenesses, conjure living features out of marble, argue cases more effectively, and with their compass plot the heavens' orbit, and predict the rising of the constellations. But you, Roman, remember, to you will fall the exercise of power over the nations, and these will be your gifts to impose peace and justify your sway. Spare those you conquer, crush those who overbear. Here Anchises paused, then while they wondered at his words, continued. Now, look, there goes Marcellus, head and shoulders above all the rest, victorious in armour of the general he killed. He will help Rome to stand firm while it bears the brunt of fierce invasion. He will ride high over Carthaginians and insurgent Gauls, then dedicate those rich, rare spoils, won only twice before, to Father Quirinus. At which point, Aeneas saw a young man in step with Marcellus, arrayed in glittering arms, exceedingly handsome, but with lowered eyes, unhappy looking. So he asked, "Who, Father, is that companion at his side? A son or another of his great descendants? What crowds and clamour follow him? What presence he has? What black night wreathes his brow with dolorous shadow?" Choking back his tears, Anchises answered, "Do not, O my son, seek foreknowledge of the heavy sorrow your people will endure. Fate will allow the world only to glimpse him, then rob it of him quickly. It's as if the gods decided the Roman people would be manifestly too powerful for the gift of his life to last. How the city will re-echo massed laments from the brave on the field of Mars. What a funeral procession, Tiber, you will witness as you go flowing past the new-built tomb. No boy born from our Trojan stock will ever raise the hopes of his Latin ancestors so high, nor the land of Romulus take such pride in a son. Alas for his goodness, his antique loyalty, his strong right arm unbeaten in the battle. No foe would have faced and fought him and survived, whether he marched on foot or sank his spurs in the flanks of some foaming, lathering warhorse. Oh, son of pity, alas that you cannot strike fate's cruel fetters off, for you are to be Marcellus. Load my arms with lilies, let me scatter purple flowers. Let me lavish these gifts at least on the soul of my inheritor and perform my unavailing duty. And so, far and wide in those fields, through regions of air, they go wandering at will, surveying all. Then, after Anchises has conducted Aeneas across the whole expanse, scene after scene, and fired his mind with promise of future glory, he tells of wars that will first have to be waged, of the Laurentines, in the town of King Latinus, how he should face or flee each undertaking. There are two gates of sleep, one of which they say is made of horn and offers easy passage to true vision. The other has a luminous, dense ivory sheen, but through it, to the sky above, the spirits of the dead send up false streams. Anchises, still guiding and discoursing, escorts his son and the Sibyl on their way, and lets them both out by the ivory gate. Aeneas hurries to the ships, He rejoins his comrades, then sails, hugging the shore to the port of Cayetay. Anchors are cast from the prow, sterns cushion on sand.
Those of you who are very warm, I'm going to quote lines 931 and 932.